So upcoming events. Next one is, so this is obviously DubDub. Last meetup before DubDub. So next one we're going to have a bit of a overview just from DubDub DC recap. So a bit of a short cover there, but it's only a week following DubDub, so no deep dives or anything like that. Just a general broad cover, and then we've got a talk on water meets metal, so on foundational models down in the metal layer, which is going to be really cool. I personally don't know a lot about that, so very excited for that. Following that, that'll be a full month after DubDub, or a month and a week, so looking for volunteers from that. If anyone sees anything cool in DubDub and playing around, open for volunteers, so just reach out on that Brisbane meetup Slack channel, or come see me after. That will be really cool, but yeah, it doesn't have to be much. Could be a 5-minute talk, 20-minute talk, whatever you want, but would be keen to see what people have sort of been playing around with from DubDub DC. And then after that, there's nothing scheduled. So if you would like to do a talk, please get in touch. We can pencil you in for the 20th of August. So looking for a speaker for that one there. So got a new AI segment now because it's just growing every month and just changing so fast, and I thought it's good to sort of have the community discuss and see where everyone's at, because we're all at very different stages with adopting AI. But just my 2 cents is this debate. We've been given these it's kind of like the drug dealer. He's given you the little sample for free to take home, get you hooked, and then that's all you want. You just want your tokens, and then it's just I see it the price going up like crazy, and you've already started to see it with everything sort of shifting to as pay-as-you-go pricing rather than your sort of quite cheap subscriptions. You saw that with OpenClaw as well, getting banned from Anthropic services. You're seeing Copilot now go to it. You're seeing the likes of Uber have now questioned whether or not it's actually worth having AI, and they've actually started to roll off a little bit. And Microsoft itself, ironically, which is the same company that spent $150 billion on AI to date and in committed spending, is now going, Claude's actually getting pretty expensive, eh? We might need to roll their head off, and they're having to force people back to their own Copilot model. So, when a company has spent $150 billion on it, is going, I'm wondering if this is going to be sustainable long term. You have to start asking yourself, if you're an indie developer or you're playing with it, that thing where Claude could just be working 24/7 previously, building your prototype, is now going to be costing you. Every prompt's going to start sort of costing. So, very interested to see how this sort of plays out long term with more at the C level with budgeting, right? Because what it costs today is certainly not going to cost the same in 12 months' time. So my advice for you as well is keeping your skills sharp. So what makes you a senior engineer is the core fundamental skills. It's not necessarily how to write the code. That's kind of the easy part. So really, what makes a senior engineer senior, focusing on that senior part, being able to evaluate, is this output actually good? Is this actually solving the problem in the right way? Because if you keep delegating to AI, it's kind of almost like playing the pokies a little bit. And I think Tony Arnold at Mantle, he sort of uses that analogy. It's sort of somewhat like gambling, where you keep pulling it and it's win, 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 win. So you're if I pull this lever, I'm going to win. It's kind of like NFTs in the early day. It always goes up, 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 until one day it doesn't and it all falls down. So I've certainly been caught out with this as well, where you start getting an answer, it's right, it's right, it's right. And then suddenly it's this basic thing that it's it should just do that. It should be right. You don't actually validate it and it's not right, and it's wow. So really do keep your skills sharp, really do keep an eye on what it's actually outputting. And I think where I've personally seen success in it, and I think other people with different views, is when I'm using it to tell it exactly what to do. I'm the architect, I'm the orchestrator, I'm saying do this, and this is merely, instead of writing Swift code, I'll get AI to write it for me. And where it goes sort of astray or doesn't quite do the right thing is go, hey, go off and plan this for me, go and plan it, and then just go and implement it. And that's where it sort of, I find it warps, or it starts making things up, or it misses a lot of things. So just really, as we start rolling through this, I think keeping those skills sharp, because, in 12 months' time, the AI might cost a lot more and it might be a lot more limited in what you can use it for. So there's some advice there, and also elevating yourself up. So a lot of the stuff is what makes a software engineer, a solid software engineer, is not necessarily being the writing. And I think some people use the term a programmer, or a software engineer, say, and a coder. A coder is the one writing AI, and if that's all you do is pick up a ticket, I'll just write this ticket. That's sort of where I see AI taking those sort of jobs first. But the software engineer that actually critically thinks and questions how would be the best way that we can solve this. How should we go about this? How should this work? What should the architecture of this be? Mentoring people, looking at like the systems processes, looking at like the wider picture and questioning, is this the right way of doing it, or how should we go about it? I see a lot of those skills, like AI is a long way off replacing them. So elevating yourself up in the organization, being able to like help various parts is always going to be useful. And I think also your own brand and image has been now more important than ever. I remember I was having a conversation before with a few people, but gone are the days where you used to have recruiters messaging you daily, like, please join us. If you talk to one, they're like 10 jobs, it's like, God, it's overwhelming, they're putting slides in offices, they're throwing perks at you, like, God, if you know anyone at all, I'll pay you like all this money. Gone are those days, and it's certainly the market's contracting now a lot. Whether it's due to AI or not, or it's, just sort of the economy, I sort of think it sort of causing this contracting. Elevating yourself up, taking that chance to put yourself up here sort of publicly and speaking it. So calling out Josh. Josh has been looking for a job in the industry, finding it very tough, sort of coming into it new without that initial experience. He got up here, did a talk on using machine learning models, putting them on iPhones and running them, and then he actually ended up getting some cool opportunities by resharing that on LinkedIn. So now he's doing some paid contracting work, which is just like awesome to see. So, these sort of opportunities, it might be scary to come up here and chat, but they certainly translate into the real world. But talking about AI wins, just wondering if anyone's got anything cool that they want to sort of share that they're doing with AI or what they're using it for, some workflow stuff.
I'm actually putting an app on App Store in a week or two, which is a machine learning pipeline. So rather than just open-ended doing anything for repetitive tasks like lawyers taking voice into notes or field operators who work on trucks, basically taking through a series of steps, take the language, clean the language up, make sure it meets certain policy requirements, make sure it meets organisation requirements, and then spit documents out to various locations. So kind of the opposite of OpenClaw is what we're going for. It's got a Hummingbird HTTP interface on the side of it, so it spits out a data set variant as well. Trying to sell to a couple of big sovereign AI orgs, because it's basically AI with physical hardware around it for a few $1,000.
Amazing. Very cool. Yep.
So the company I work for was actually doing professional development content for nurses and teachers. So I suppose let me keep like high level, but they originally had this idea of basically just using agents to do research, agents to do content creation and stuff like that. What ended up happening was a lot of the research ended up being more deterministic. I'm not as close to the implementation at the moment, but the understanding I got was that they moved towards more direct API calls. Using LLMs only for the content generation. And instead of us originally thinking that the video would be the final product first go, we would actually have to get, maybe got 90% there, and then would edit some of the slides and that would become the final product.
Cool. Anyone else got any shares they want to share? I know Mantle Group's been diving down into it a little bit.
Yes, we are a agentic first organisation.
Wow. How much does that add to the share price?
No, we're doing a lot of work. I can't speak to everything we're doing, but it's all the rage at the moment amongst enterprises in particular, figuring out how to maximise its potential, and there's a lot of really interesting stuff happening. I'm not close enough to much of it, unfortunately, to say anything meaningful about it.
Yeah. I think part of it as well is, like, I see it work really well with like one-shot sort of things, and building these dashboards and building these prototypes. And I think part of the dangerous part is, like, the people higher up that maybe they're engineering managers, they haven't been on the tools as closely, maybe they're working with a stack they're not familiar with, build something really cool and productive. Well, it's amazing, I've been 100x, the marketing's true, but their dashboard that came from nothing and it has like 10 files in it, like, it's a pretty small project, it's very easy to do it. It's not something that's generating billions of dollars in revenue, It's not something where it's potentially going to be quite secure. It's not something that's going to be stable and have all of these edge cases worked or work on every device. That's where I see it working really well. I also see it working really well with this more specific context, do this, do this, do this, do this. But my sort of fear is a lot of these big companies going in and having these agentic agents going and coding, because what I see, like, Anthropic telling people, what I see people in marketing, and all of the high levels, is like they have this one idea of it. But what I'm seeing is down at the ground is like someone who's trying to roll this out for like 35 engineers is like, I see a very different picture. But maybe there's a difference in expectations there. But I think putting the guardrails in as much as you can to sort of constrain it is really valuable. And I think part of it acts like a junior developer. It takes like the shortest path to get to an answer. And putting in guardrails to actually like stop and keep checking in as it's going rather than just like let it roll and do this big task is really useful. And also telling it to sort of, if there's ambiguity or you're not sure, like don't just make assumptions, like validate with the user. And I find the more questions it asks you as it encounters these, you get a far better output with it. But yeah, I think we're still quite early on our rollout here at Intane.
Yeah, I saw a hot take online that I quite agree with, that AI just increases the output, but not the quality of the output.
Yeah.
So if a junior engineer will use AI, it will increase its output, but it will increase also the tech debt in the code base.
Well, that's one of the metrics we have is like, how do you measure an increase in productivity? Because lines of code is a very terrible metric, because AI is fantastic at hitting that KPI, right? Just, oh, you want something from user defaults? Cool, I'll just make a user default helper in line here. It's not like, oh, you actually have this thing over here which does that, and I'll use that. It just goes and generates everything. Oh, you want something from keychain? I'll just make a keychain helper. Cool. Away you go. It doesn't think to look at what's there. So it's great at just, spitting out code, but is it the right code?
My experience is that if you want it to do what you want it to do, you have to be very specific. Not
Correct.
just in the prompt.
Correct.
Not just in the whatever prompting you're doing, but rather in all the stuff around it, like, setting up the right, agents file, the right rules and various skills
Correct.
and the right MCPs and things to actually, get it to do stuff. Like,
Mm-hmm.
and even then, it won't necessarily do it correctly. Like we use Jira, like other people do, and there's a Jira MCP, and you can say, hey, create a ticket, for this task or whatever, and it'll go off and do it. But it's not necessarily, and it might create a reasonable ticket, probably better than a lot of engineers probably create them, but it's probably going to stick, the acceptance criteria or whatever, here rather than in the right spot. Right?
Yeah.
It doesn't necessarily understand exactly the software, how the software is configured
Correct.
and stuff, right? So you need to correct its understanding constantly, or put in place the pre-can skills and rules and whatever to say, this is how we use this tool in this organisation. Make sure give it a PR template, give it all sorts of stuff like
Correct.
that. Otherwise, it's just going to
Generate whatever
it likes, and that's not necessarily.
And then it's going back to sort of what it's saying about like the more specific tasks. But yeah, we've been building out all our skills, so it's like you want to pre-check. It's like don't try and make up some script to run Xcode build. Use like the Sentry Xcode build MCP and do it in this way. You want to create an MR, like you say, here's your template, here's everything, and you give it the more specific kind of context, and you can just delegate to that skill. So as you evolve and as you change your processes, it sort of comes through rather than having to like type that with every prompt. Yeah. Yep.
One thing I'm pushing with AI at the moment is outside of code. I'm experimenting with like competitor research, getting an agent to just trawl online forums, Reddit, GitHub forums, all those sorts of things, and look for mentions of my apps, competitor apps, and give me a summary of what do people like, what do people not like on my apps and other apps, and where are my opportunities.
Fantastic. It'll be really good for that. Epic. Awesome. Some great stuff going on there, and I'm sure it'll be all different.
It's going to give you a gotcha.
Yeah.
I think it's useful. A lot of people don't really think about. Like the fact that they don't have and can never have a world model is a real issue for them. And one of the biggest mistakes that they generally make that people don't catch is they have a different understanding of not repeating itself. So if you ask it to look for duplication, it doesn't understand the difference between a pathway that's the same but in a different place in the file and the same thing. So it will say, no, there's no duplication there, but it's a very slight different pathway to getting to it. And so if you let it, as you say, keep it away from architecture, if you let it just do a little bit, it's like radium hitting your DNA, very slowly eroding your domain.
Yeah.
And once your domain is compromised, it's completely.
And I'm yet to hear of anyone successfully sort of come back from that as well. Once the damage is done, it's sort of...
So
it's,
a good
yeah.
guardrail is ports and adapters. As an architectural pattern, it's the easiest one for it to understand, and it's so constrained, straight lines through your application. But even then, it's still going wild.
For sure. Awesome. Cool. Well, first speaker we've got tonight is Peter. If it's all right with everyone, we've got a couple of speakers to get through, and then we've got Q&A at the end. So if we can all save our questions till the Q&A at the end, there's going to be plenty of time to us and both. That'll just allow us to sort of get through it a bit quicker so we're not here too late. But yeah, big round of applause for Peter.
There's a microphone.
iPhone.
Oh, so your phone.
Yeah,
This is high tech, man.
yeah, classic only work directly plugged into a computer and not through a hub.
Try that.
Sweet.
Has anything come up? No.
Should come up in a sec. Oh, so on here we must need to choose. Yeah.
Choose content. Is that all right? This one.
Go extend display maybe, it might just be easier. Go there.
That one.
Yep. Extend display. Awesome, and then you can just drag that over if you want.
Oh, that one over.
Yep.
Hold on.
Let's see.
Can you full
Maybe we
screen that?
can mirror it, might be easier. Oh, do you want your speaker notes here?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, that'll be good then.
Oh,
What's it?
we'll choose the other one that was mirror a window. I think that then you can.
Is that cool? You got your notes here?
Oh yeah, as long as the video plays, I'm happy, man. There's a video.
Sweet.
Where are we going? I'm going back. Rightio. Can folks see me if I point at the screen on the?
No, it's just cropped in on your
Oh,
face.
it's all right. I'll be fine.
Cool.
Anyhow, I've got 15 minutes, and I've got 15 slides. So if I take longer than 1 minute on the slide, let me know. Gabriel Hauber is after me, and I'm very sure that he's going to go with 15 minutes. So make sure you pull him up on 15 minutes. So yeah, you can see my stuff there. Anyhow, please say questions till after. This is me. So I'm Peter Smith. I'm a Kiwi. Clearly, by the way I pronounce 15. And I can't quite see what I've got written on the screen there, so maybe I'll just try zooming this window in. No, I can't do that. I'm going to look at this screen. I'm semi-retired now from apps. I've got a question mark, but I'm still making hay while the sun shines, I guess, because my apps are still popular on the store. And so one day it'll all stop. Apple will stop me, and somehow, or the landscape will change AI, and so I'm just making hay while the sun shines. I've got a history of corporate government roles, coding and stuff. My last role was a solution architect specialising in Oracle and Java, and I put my first app on the Apple Store in January 2011 while I was still working, and I resigned from my job and became an iOS-only indie developer in March 2013, so I've been doing it for a while now. I have 7 apps on the App Store. I have 13,700 current paying subscribers, so they're all paying. So it's a great number. It fluctuates a lot. And I have 3.4 million downloads all time. So yeah, good numbers. Oh, I've got a note here. I made a deliberate decision to make iOS-only apps. I figured that people with lots of money to spend would go and buy Apple devices, not Android ones. So that was a decision I made right at the beginning. So, and I haven't been from that. Well, I was just talking to Gabriel earlier about just throwing out source code at Claude and saying make an Android version of this. But I wouldn't want to support it. Motivations to become indie. I'd finished with corporate life. I wasn't enjoying it anymore at all, and there's a story to be told there, but another time. Financial decision. I decided to make apps that were foremost financially sustainable. I needed this to be successful into the future. So I made that decision in 2013. It's worked out well. Your own reasons to go and become indie will likely vary from mine because I made a financial decision, but you know, a lot of folks make a decision just to get their code on the App Store. Being successful financially is not the same as getting your code on the App Store. So yeah. What else have I got written here? Oh, I achieved my financial goals a few years ago, which is 10 years after I started. So it took me 10 years to hit the goal, man. So it's not going to be like on Twitter, X, where you sort of see everyone sort of saying, I've made, you know, 1 month, I've made enough to survive for the rest of my life. Not for me. Here they are. I know folks can't see if I point at the screen, but the one on the top right there is my most popular app. It's called Full Moon Phase. It's an astrology app. The one on the bottom, and it's my most popular app. It makes me some really good money, except, and this app's a bit of a sleeper, it's the bottom left one. I'm pointing at this one, the bottom left. It's a hunting app, and between October and January, it's hunting season in the USA. And it makes probably 3 times the top right one there at that time. And right now, at this time of year, it's dead. So it's just the way it is. The one at the bottom right there is my my very first app. It makes no money anymore, and I just maintain it for nostalgia reasons. Just for a laugh, you know, it's my very first app. There's 3 of those apps are Swift UI, but most of them are just Objective-C and UI Kit and storyboards. I wrote them a long time ago. The Swift UI ones I've mostly ported, but porting apps leads to trouble. People miss functionality or something small changes. So I don't know how to go with that. All apps have a business model. I have many app ideas, many written in a book, but either I can't find a way to get them seen by users or I can't find a way to make money from them. So I just don't build them. So it's not the other way around. I don't build an app and try and sell it. It's the other way around. Yep. There's something else written here, but I don't know how to scroll up, so tough. Things that work for me, ASO. So I've got a couple of slides on things that work for me. ASO is, I'm sure you all know what ASO is, you've all heard of it. Getting to the top of search results for searches made by users. And this is the number one thing that's worked for me over the years. The vast majority of users do not choose the best app. So that's where the disadvantage of having perfectly coded apps. There are many apps better than mine out there, better coded. Users do not choose the best app, they choose the first one they see. And so Apple know this, and so they sell the top position in any search result to the highest bidder. And as of March just gone, and this is a very new thing, they sell the 3rd position result as well. So if you're an indie, you can only get into position 2 or position 4 at best. So yeah, it's a challenging time. So organic results. Now very challenging to use this method, just to the sheer number of apps coming out of AI, you know, and Apple reserving the top positions to Apple Ads. So yeah. ASO, in very brief, I've talked about ASO, there's books written on this, so this is it. I'm just going to go for it in 10 seconds, 1 minute. Put keywords in your title, subtitle and keywords fields so Apple know what searches your app is relevant for. Ensure that keywords actually used by searchers. See there? You can't see where I'm pointing, but actually used by searchers. That's the most important thing. So ensure your icon is unique and beautiful. Ensure your screenshots are appealing. You can monitor your search results using apps like, there's a Mac app called Astro, which sits there and it just, every day it does all the searches and you can see where your app's position is set, go up and down. I'm very fortunate, and Apple have been good to me, and my app's number 1, number 2 in the USA. USA is 80% of my income and sales, 80%. So I really focus on the USA. So I'm number 1 or number 2 in the USA for searches of full moon, sunrise, sunset, moon sign astrology, sunrise, sunset times. You can see how big a search like sunrise or sunrise, sunset times would be. Hunting times and others. I'm very, very fortunate, very, very appreciative of Apple. And down here you can't see it, but there's a title, a subtitle and a keywords. Doesn't matter. Read a book on ASO. What have I got written down here? USA, the only market that matters. I did that. 80% of my customers' sales are in the USA. Did I say that? I certainly did. I'm saying it again. Things that work for me. Number 2, asking for reviews. So I ask for reviews. I'm a big believer that this drives the algorithm. I don't know what the algorithm is, but I ask using the Apple supported prompt. I ask at app launch, and only after the user has used the app for at least 2 days and run the app 3 times. So only then do I ask for a review, and that ensures that the review is positive. Anyone who... there's all sorts of rubbish about putting the review prompt inside the onboarding. I don't know about that. You get so many bad reviews. And this is off the bottom of the screen again, and I'm not going to work how to scroll it. Using subscriptions to monetize was my big thing, and that was my big change. You can see I moved to a subscription model during the COVID lockdown. I just started converting my apps, and that was the big change for me. My app revenue just went like that. Excellent. And influencers worked for me, and we're about to have 100 decibels of swearing. If the audio is right. Did we check the audio? I don't know. I can't move the pointer. Okay, we're just going to go for it. And so I'm just going to turn the volume up to max. And how do I play that? Spacebar. All right, here we go. Language
Another
warning.
app that I love to use that I don't know anyone else that uses is Moonfree. Moonfree is the fucking Phases of the Moon app. I can't tell you how many times I've just been like driving around and it seems like everyone's fucking insane today. You go to Moonfree, oh look, it's a full fucking moon. That's why everyone's out of their goddamn mind. That, every single type of crime, aside from murder, goes up when there's a full moon. It's because we're fucking made of water and that shit's pulling us in all different directions, making us insane. Get a moon app, and so then you know when the crazy is coming. iPad games.
So she was massive back in the day, and she really drove sales. So the thing that was scrolled off the bottom of the screen, the previous slide, was I don't know how to find influencers, they found me. So she pushed me up to the top 10 of US weather at the time, and I got many, many thousands of downloads for many days. So that was a win. So yeah, cool. And here's a fail. This is Cameron Diaz. She's an actress, and I'm sure you've heard of her. And on the right, just beside her tummy there, is my app. And so Cameron Diaz downloaded my app and told Cosmopolitan about it. And so Cosmopolitan contacted me, and so I sent them a press kit, and they put this article together. I have the magazine at home, 2015. Did not move the dial at all. So swearing in the swearing video, a winner, Cameron Diaz. Not successful for me, but I'm sure she's lovely. Didn't make a mark on downloads. I've read all that. Okay, so these are my last slides. New ideas I'm trying. So I wanted to do some 2026 stuff, what I'm doing now, rather than dwelling on the past. I'm not much for nostalgia. So here are 4 slides of my current strategies. There's 4 of these slides. And these are working. My last slide is about testing that they work. So there's some stuff on my thing here. I can't scroll. Experience with onboarding. So at the moment, my apps didn't have an onboarding. I've put it into my Full Moon app, which is my most popular one. Very emotional language. 70% of conversions to paying occur at the end of onboarding if you show the paywall. So that's what I've heard. So I'm experimenting with that. I think it's working well. We'll find at the end. offering weekly subscriptions. Considered scammy, and a bit non-ethical. But I find that users are more passionate about my apps than I am. And so they don't mind paying at all. So I guess there's a lesson for being a developer there, and the lesson is, I can't think of what it is really, don't let your own beliefs get in the way of what your users think. Very important. I've got a couple of reviews at the bottom there. You can't read them, neither can they. So they're both in the last month, and these users are passionate. I live for this app. This app is so functional. I kid you not. I live for this app. This app is so functional, easygoing, like my best friend. And I use it for moon cycles, plus I wish it would be free so I can see everything, but still the surface level options are still so cool to see. It was April the 16th, just gone. And I rely on this app. The unlocked version is definitely worth it, May the 1st. They're both more passionate about my app than me. So, yeah. Some stuff scrolled off the bottom. Raising prices. I priced my premium apps for $40 USD for a year, $5 USD for a week. I think that if you underprice your apps, there's a confidence issue. I was just talking with confidence about you. You've got to be confident in your app, and so selling your app for $1.99 for a year these days, I think your users will look at that and doubt your app. Changing the default option on the paywall to yearly subscription. So I have two options on my paywall for that app, yearly or weekly. I started with the weekly because I thought, cash grab. But really, the best option is to put the higher paying option, the yearly is the default, and that way I get more money in advance, and I prefer to get money in advance and the user gets a cheaper deal rather than the weekly. When I first built my Full Moon app, it was lifetime for only $2.99 USD. So now I charge $40 a year. Okay, new ideas, I'm trying 3. I'm sure I'm over 15 now. Removing free trials. This is very against convention. So everyone loves free trials, and I'm the only person I know removing free trials. I think users were surprised at first, and I had a lot of scammy users who would just subscribe and then cancel the subscription straight away, and just go for the 3 days of free service, and then it would finish. I don't know what their motivation is for 3 days of free service. I thought they might be maybe trying to see if my code was okay. Maybe it'd be broken and they keep getting free service or something. But I got sick of seeing it, so I thought I'd try removing the free trials. I'm okay with it. I'm the only person doing it. Cross-promotion. Apple have a new thing in App Store Connect. It looks like a number where you've got a link. Cross-promotion is where you have your app and you have all your other apps listed in that app. So when someone downloads it, they can see all your other apps. It looks like on the new Apple App Store Connect dashboard, there is a figure which shows cross-promotion, and it's a big earner for me, or as big as the App Store search, so I'm really pushing them to the top, something I'm trying right now. And so this is the result. And so this is, I'm not sponsored by RevenueCat, but I use RevenueCat for my subscriptions. That was probably scrolled off the bottom earlier. Rico, so it's a chatbot, and it's there. I'm pointing at the right-hand side of the screen for those at home, and you can ask it anything about your numbers, and I do. And so I've asked it there to, I tried each of those things on the previous screens for a month, and then I'd swap something else and swap something else for each for a month. In fact, I started on the 9th of each month. And so this, I've asked it for the 9th of each month. And so you can't see that from graphs or anything like that. And so it's set here. And as it scrolled off the bottom, no. This screen shows that my loss of subscribers has reduced by 90% for all of my, using all those ideas. So that's a big difference. And so I haven't got it quite fine down which of those ideas is perfect yet, but if I analyse per month, I'll be able to work it out. So I have been hemorrhaging subscribers a bit, but that's finished. She's flat. My last slide. What I am doing now. And so the name of my company that I have is called Fascinating Projects. So all my apps are under an umbrella company for tax reasons and stuff. So I'm not really actively building new apps, I'm just maintaining the existing ones. But a fascinating project I'm doing. What's that dude who does the Swift books? Paul Hudson. I talked to him in Singapore the other day and about books, and I decided, I told him about my idea. But anyhow, I've got all my Swift code for astronomy and astrology. It's all mathematical. And so I'm generating an almanac. And so it's written in a book language called ASCII doc, so I'm getting the Swift to pump out ASCII doc, and I'm building an almanac. So I'm hoping to put that on Amazon or similar. Fascinating project number 2 is this. And so this is done teaching me Claude wrangling. And so we were talking about AI. And so this is a port of a Win 3.1 Win95 screensaver that used to be massive back in the day. And I absolutely loved it. And so I couldn't run it. Anyhow, I decided one day I'm going to teach myself a bit more Claude. So this is a pure Swift 6 version of that. There's been many people who reverse engineered it, so I just pointed Claude at it. It's been a big learning experience about context in Claude and things, but there's the repository, and it's working clearly. So it's implemented as a genuine Swift 6, pure Swift 6 screensaver in Mac OS. So yeah, it's awesome. So yeah, that's me. I've got a questions panel here, but we're not doing questions yet because I'm going to pass over to Gabriel, who is going to talk for only 15 minutes.
I think we talked less time than you.
All right, thank you very much. This plugs into the side of your laptop. Have you got an HDMI?
Got it in the right place. I'm in this awkward stage of, I've got 2 sets of glasses. If I put these on, I can see you, but I can't see the screen. So this is going to be fun. I thought of bringing out my other glasses, but yeah, we'll see how we go. All right. So this is me. And if you want to follow me on some kind of social media, the only place you'll find me publicly is on X. So for those of you who don't like X, I'm sorry. But I've been there for like 14 years and I'm not moving. So I don't want to do more than one. And evidence that sometimes I don't have a beard as well. I think that was a couple of years ago. But there's also evidence of my midlife crisis there as well. So I play cello, that's part of who I am. I started learning about 7 years ago, and it's a lot of fun. My current teacher is actually head of cello at the Conservatorium, so I'm actually hoping to learn something good now. Yes, and I am an indie dev, and I'm enjoying country living a little bit further away than Sunshine Coast, actually. I live in Gympie, actually outside of Gympie, on the north side of Gympie, in a suburb called Chatsworth, on 10 acres, and I'll show you some photos later. However, what I need you to all know is that grandparents can be app developers too. I do see a lot of grey hair here. I have a lot of grey hair, but I also have a granddaughter. So, yes, I have been around for a little while. I've been around a long time in the computer age. That's me. That's a Commodore 64. Does anyone know what a Commodore... Yeah. So that was my first computer. Well, the family's first computer, because we only had one computer. But if we're sort of talking about the genesis of an indie career in app development, there it is. Because I loved these things, what they could do, and I wanted to be able to do these things too. And so even as a little kid, I was learning Commodore 64 Basic V2, and then I started learning 6502 assembly language. Then I bought myself an Amiga 500 and started learning to code on that, an Amiga 1200, and then I ended up in the world of Windows and in the wilderness for a while. And then I bought a Mac, and that was really fun. In terms of an actual indie career, though, I mean, I always wanted to sort of be my own boss. I can't remember why originally, but when mobile sort of stuff started coming out, I got really excited about that. I didn't get into like the early days of your Palm Pilots and that sort of thing, but I did get into some stuff in the early 2000s. So Amiga was this thing that went bust in the 90s and then went through several owners and then was bought by this consortium of people who then tried to resurrect the Amiga name using this platform from a company in Reading, England called DAO, Intent. So Intent was the platform, DAO was the name of the company. And they had this really interesting technology called virtual processor. And so they had essentially, they created a RISC instruction set, and you would compile to that, and then they would have interpreters that would run on all sorts of different machines, and it'd translate on the fly on whatever target machines, and then it'd cache the translations as well. So when it first started running, it might be a little bit slow. It'd give you native machine language as it ran. Because it was a RISC code, it would translate very efficiently, more efficiently than Java. Because Java was a stack-based machine, which doesn't translate well to actual hardware. Well, at least not then, anyway. And so I got involved with what they called Amiga Anywhere, because they had this vision of putting this Amiga environment in all sorts of different places. And they were targeting initially mobile devices as well as desktop. And I sort of got involved in the community, and I wrote a game. This is actually this version, so I'm pointing at the gems thing on the left. It's kind of like a match 3 style of game, crossed with a really old Commodore 64 game called Boulder Dash. And so so it was a puzzle game where you'd sort of walk around and you'd have to push these gems into place rather than just sort of touching it. It was a really interesting challenge, just designing good puzzles in that as well. The version that actually got published and that I sold on Nokia Software Market and a few other things was written in personal Java. So in those days, because mobile devices were very, very limited in what they could do, they had stripped down versions of Java. The really advanced devices would run personal Java. Most devices ran J2ME, the mid-P profile, and that was really limited. That snake-looking game in the bottom right, the original version of that was written for Amiga Anywhere by a fellow by the name of John Harris. And if you know your 1980s computer lore, he wrote... Oh, now I'm getting old, senile. I think it was Jawbreaker. He did a port of Jawbreaker, and a couple of other famous early 8-bit computer games. But he came up with this version of Snake that was kind of like layered, and so he had bridges, and so he could go over and under and through tunnels and that sort of thing. And he wrote it for the Amiga Anywhere platform, and then he asked me to port it to... I did a Java version for mid-P, so that was also on Nokia Software Market. And the thing in the top right was a little project called MyRMX. Again, originally written for the Amiga Anywhere environment. I became friends with the guys who wrote it, and because the Amiga Anywhere thing they weren't going anywhere with it, he decided to first port it to Symbian. And so I actually did the Symbian port for that. So Symbian was an operating system that grew out of the Epoch 32 platform, and it was the mobile phone operating system for the Nokia smartphones. And then for a bunch of it was licensed to a whole bunch of others because it was spun off into its own thing from, it was Scion who wrote it originally. I had one of those little Scion handheld, I've still got them. But anyway, so I wrote that in C++. That was fun because there was no documentation online for that sort of thing. So if you ran into any problems and you Google anything, you got 0 hits. But I did that, and then later, when the iPhone came out and they released the SDK, I ported that to iOS as well. So that was my first foray into iOS development. And I think at one stage, like in those early days, it got a couple of 100,000 downloads. But the beginnings of my real indie career is this. Now, you might be wondering what that is. A friend of mine called that the melting ice cream guitar. So there's a little story about this, and yes, I am going to go longer than 15 minutes. So I had moved up to the Sunshine Coast with my family, and at that stage I was doing a lot of work from home. I was working as like a consultant. I was building, my main earner was building some software in Java for a mining consultant. He did big mine plans for your coal mines, and I was writing the software that he used to do all the mine analysis stuff. So that was how I made my money during the day. But I wasn't all, depending on how many new features and stuff he needed, I wasn't always busy. And because we were living in a new place, I had no friends. My wife was homeschooling our kids, and she met this other homeschooling mother, and she was talking about her husband who was also working from home and doing some things, and they were like, oh, our husbands need to meet because they need friends. And that was a sketch, it was a black and white pencil drawing originally. He had sketched this guitar thing. He was a guitarist, and he played in a church band, and he had this idea for an iPad app to have his lyrics and chords on the iPad, so he didn't have to cart around paper. And so we got together, and he pitched this idea to me, and I said, yeah, well, I've got nothing else to do. I'll help you write this app. That was in 2010. And I'd head over to his place once a week. We'd eat pizza and those mint chocolate biscuits. I think I put on a few kilos every week. And over 2 years, we built the first version of Songsheet. And we launched it on the App Store at the end of 2012. And I think in the first month, we made like $15. The next month, we made less. It was kind of demoralising, but we kept plugging away because it was, it was social. I'd go over his place once a week, spend the whole day, we'd get more stuff done, kept releasing versions, tried doing things, reduced the price, because I think we launched initially at like $8 US, and it's like, oh, it must be too expensive, and kept dropping the price. Went down as far as 99 cents once. Just don't do that. Because as Peter says, well, you're underselling yourself. If you don't value what you're doing, nobody else will value it either, and that's just the truth. You need to value it, and other people will value it too. But I think within about a year, we're making maybe $300 a month out of this thing. And it's like, the time we're putting into this, it's not worth it, that sort of thing. And it was like, what are we going to do? And then he pitched to me that he would buy me out because, we owned half of it each. And I thought, I know it's your idea, but I feel like more passionate about it. So I kind of counter-offered, and I offered him $20,000 to buy him out completely. Not because it was just on if you just did the math, it was making at that stage $2.5 grand a year when I pitched this, so or maybe $3 a year. So that's like an 8 times multiplier, 7-8 times multiplier on it. But I thought it was worth far more than that because I knew there was a market. There are musicians out there. iPads are used by musicians, and I thought this is. This can go somewhere if somebody believes in it and spends some time with it. And I thought, he's not going to do that. It's his baby, but he's not going to do it. For some reason, he accepted my counter-proposal. Maybe he just wanted that $20,000 cash. That would have been nice. I borrowed from family, because I didn't have that money. I borrowed from family, but I believed in it that much. And I kind of went full-time on it for a while, even though it was barely earning anything. By the end of that year, and I think I've written some of this on my blog, which I haven't updated in 10 years now, I think. I think the last post is from 2016. Could be. And I've got some graphs there. But by the end of that year, I'd gone from like $300 a month to maybe 3 times that. Not enough to pay a mortgage. I know that. I don't know how we kept paying the mortgage for a while. I got periodic jobs, but yeah. So that was, I think it was mid 2014 that I bought it from him, and because I was sucker for punishment. On a mailing list I was on, somebody said, "Hey, I don't have time to look after this other app." The icon on the left is what the icon looks like now. So the other one was actually the icon when it launched. That's what it looks like now. That's much better design. It's gone through a whole bunch of iterations to get to this. And so this other one, it's called Reverse Chord Finder. And yeah, it was something that this fellow Matisse had launched on the App Store pretty much at the start, and he had all these plans for it, and it was kind of doing okay. But he felt he didn't have any time for it anymore. I thought, oh, it's another music app, it'd be a good companion to Songsheet. I thought, okay, I'll buy that off him. I think I paid $12,000 for that. At the time, it was probably making about $6,000 a year. So that was a 2x multiplier. It makes more than that per year now. Yeah. Last calendar year, it was about 22 grand it made me. So, and I don't actually spend much time on Reverse Chord Finder at the moment. There's a lot I want to do to it, but Songsheet just sucks my time. I think I posted on X recently that with everything I've done, I still feel like I've only just begun. Like I'm still in the early stages. You should see all the stuff I've got written down for it. But the point of all this is to say, and Peter demonstrated this perfectly, pick your area that you want to focus on. So for me, it's musicians. And I mean, I kind of accidentally fell into that with this friend of mine, Paul, who originally had the idea for Songsheet. But the more I thought about it, and this is one of the reasons why I bought it from him, it's like, okay, this actually makes a lot of sense because, you know, there's this myth out there that musicians are poor because they can't get gigs and all this sort of stuff. Musicians spend a ton of money on their equipment, guitars, pedals, and amps, and all sorts of stuff. I mean, hey, I play cello. I spend a lot of money on the cello. Strings are a bit more expensive than guitar strings, just a little bit. But no, so pick the area and have a good reason for picking it, because people value things that mean something to them. So if something like Songsheet, which solves a problem for musicians, they will pay for it. You know, they'll spend $100. They'll do $100, $200, $300 on an effects pedal or something. They'll pay for your app because it helps them out. And so I've kind of decided, okay, that's where I'm going to, that's the space I'm going to play in. I'm going to target musicians. I have one more app idea that I want. It's not a new idea. There are other apps out there that do this thing, but I think I've got a take on it that suits the way I think. And the apps I've tried don't quite work with that. And that's part of what I sort of think, you know, not everyone thinks the same. So even though there are other apps out there and they might be better, they might have more features, they might not suit everybody. And so, again, you can find your little group of users who just want it to work that way. And for my Songsheet app, I mean, it's missing some core functionality. I mean, it's 2026, and I don't have iCloud Sync. It is the number one requested feature that I have, but I earn a full-time living out of it. So sometimes you might think, oh, I can't publish because I'm missing this feature. Sometimes it's valuable even without those things. So just go for it anyway. So these, I took these off my blog because I'm not... so these are things I published on the blog, these graphs. So this is a graph of early revenue. This line here, so this bottom line, that's $200, and this is monthly. And the top line's $1,000. So by the end of 2014, it's $800 a month it was making. So it was a bit of a slow beginning, and I kind of ran out of money, so I went and got a full-time job for a while. It's another thing when you're an indie developer, and if you're sort of in and out of full-time work, it becomes difficult to persuade potential employers that you might be good, because they just sort of see, oh, hang on, what have you been doing for the last 12 months, 18 months, whatever. Yes, I took a while to, itty-bitty apps. Anyway, but it wasn't the first time that happened to me. So it's just one of those little things. So there's another graph I posted on my blog. So it's an old graph. It goes up to the end of 2016. So that $800 line is at the end there. So by the end of 2016, I had it up around 3K a month is where I got it to. This is to the end of last month. That last graph is that red box. And you'll see there's a dip. Guess what that dip corresponds to? COVID. I was a paid upfront app. Both of them are paid upfront apps. I did the same thing that Peter did in the COVID thing. I switched to a subscription model. And even though people weren't performing, it took off. Because people could try it much more cheaply. Although before, I had actually pushed the price up to like 25 US. My lifetime price is 130 US now. And people pay it. I do get some interesting one-star reviews, but it's worth it. And it's like $59.99 US a year is what I charge. So the end there, so last month, so I'm happy to share my figures. It was 32,000 Australian dollars is what I made out of both my apps last month. I'm on target for this financial year to be about $400,000 in revenue. I still have expenses out of that. I mean, I'm paying part-time employees now, but it's going well. But it's also hard. It's hard for some of the reasons I said. You're not earning money for a long time. You believe in something. It's taking too long. You see these success stories on X or other places. They're probably fake, but some people do win the lottery. But not everyone, most people who succeed do this slow grind of just continuing to iterate, to please customers, and then what happens is your customers tell other people, hey, use this app because it solved my problem. And that's actually your best marketing, when your customers are selling it for you. It's also hard from another point of view, I find, because not living in the city, networking with other developers is hard. I mean, I live in the country, and that has positive things, but mental health can be a real issue for indie developers, and it's a real challenge, and you have to work hard on that thing. And I have found it difficult to work on that, but you have to, and you just have to be aware that these things are hard. I prefer to code. I don't like marketing. I tried marketing in various ways. I was never good at it. I'm now using AI to try and help me with that, and maybe I'll have better success this time. So what I mentioned before about getting the AI to research forums and that sort of thing, that's kind of my first early steps. I'm actually doing stuff with my websites now. They even serve over HTTPS. New as of 3 months ago. Yes. Anyway, but I like coding. So it is hard, but there are rewards, and the rewards aren't just financial. The financial rewards took a long time to come. Rewards like this: I don't have to live in the city. I don't have to go to an office. I mean, this is 2018 when I first bought this. This is aspirational. When I'll get to a point where I don't have to go to an office anymore. I was working for YouFoods at the time, and so that was 2018. Well, that's where I live now. It's 10 acres, so all of that is my domain outside Gympie, and that's the view from my office window. So there are rewards. I've got independence, and I guess that's what a lot. If you're thinking about being an independent developer, you're like thinking about those things like, oh, what can I get out of it? Well, there is a certain amount of freedom, and it is attractive, but it did cost a lot to get there. A lot of time. Would I do it again in hindsight? I don't know. I gave up a lot. Yeah. So what's next? And this is my last slide. So I do have one more app idea. As I said before, it's music related. It's a tool for musicians. It's a tool for me as a cellist. And others using other instruments. Hopefully I will get to work on that later this year. That's my goal. Marketing for Songsheet, actually getting CloudSync out, a few other big ticket items, Mac app for Songsheet, taking reverse chord finder and actually making a native iPad version and Mac version, because that will expand my market as well. So yeah, I've got a huge list of things to do. I could be working for the next 50 years, even with AI doing it all for me, and I still wouldn't be done, I think. So, yeah, all right, done. Okay.
Well done.
Yeah, we'll get some stools and I'll change the camera over there. Unfortunately, I haven't worked how to do these glamorous transitions and whatnot yet. I'm pretty raw.
So there's the
Yeah,
microphone.
have a little wiggle with the camera maybe.
Put in So there is similarities. We can just put it right in our face. There's similarities between our presentations. There's something to be read into that. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
First question, you talked about your environment and you're quite far away from people, and a lot of people will say you're a product of your environment, right? So if you want to get into finance, go to New York. If you want to get into tech, go to Silicon Valley. You've got to sort of follow the money and be around that environment. But you guys both sort of break the sort of trend there, and so you've gone out. You're a little bit more isolated than someone else. You're not necessarily in those hustle and bustle environments where there's marketing people, there's other people sort of doing what you're doing. How do you find doing something like that? Do you think it's obviously it's been a lifestyle choice and one that you've sort of wanting to pursue, but do you think it sort of comes with challenges inherently from it?
Yeah. Well, I'll give you a word of advice. If you're ever going to move somewhere new, like to a whole new town, don't time it just before a global pandemic. Yeah, because that's what we did. We moved to Gympie at the beginning of 2020. But I mean, I can joke because I have 5 children. 4 of them are adults now. I still have a 14, almost 15-year-old at home. So home has always been really, really busy. The first time we went to Gympie and had a look at this block of land, some friends of ours had moved. They were originally from Gympie. They were part of our house church, and then they moved back to Gympie. And then they said, "Oh, the block of land next to them's for sale." So we decided to go up and have a look. I remember walking out, driving through town, out the other side, getting onto this block of land, and maybe it's sort of being Sunshine Coast is a really busy place, becoming it's a big city. I consider it a big city, and very, very busy and on the go. And I'm not that kind of person, I think. And then having a big family, it's really draining, rewarding but draining. And I just remember walking out into this block of land and instantly just feeling like all the state was gone. And it's like, I think even though I hadn't consciously made a decision, I'm going to buy this block of land then, it's like our fate was sealed. It was going to happen. And so that was just it was like, I guess an emotional thing to move to a place like that. But I mean, apart from, I'm a very introverted person. Connecting with, I do find it difficult to connect with people, but I also thrive through connecting with people. Small groups of people, and you can do that. I mean, the beauty of what we do is that we can do a lot of it online. And so if I have power in the internet, and Starlink is amazing, I can do that from anywhere, but I still need to find ways to connect with people. And me playing cello is one way to do that, because I've joined a community orchestra. Which is good.
So how do you stay connected to people then if you're not coming into that sort of physical workplace, which now a lot of people aren't? Like for me personally, I took the leap to move to Australia, also a Kiwi, moved to the Gold Coast, and I took a remote job, and how do you sort of start networking and building that out in that sort of environment? And I find it's a lot harder, particularly, I joined as a lead. So suddenly I've got a team of people reporting to me who I've never met, and now I have to give them sort of constructive feedback. Like it can be certainly a challenge there. But what sort of actions do you take, in like a sort of virtual first world that we sort of live in now to sort of stay connected to people and sort of interact in that? Do you sort of have like Discord groups, or I see you're kind of engaged in the Cocoa Heads Slack as well. You managed to make it down here tonight, but do you sort of have peers that you can sort of bounce ideas off, or what is it that you sort of
not really, not anymore. In some ways that's kind of okay, I guess. I have 2 of my boys now working for me part-time, and that's helped, but they don't have nearly the knowledge and depth of experience that I do. But I guess for me, connection now isn't so much in the tech space, but in other spaces. And I just need to double down on those things. I won't be a developer forever. At some stage, I'm going to stop. And then what?
hopefully sell it for
I love solving problems. I love doing what I do, but I won't do it forever. And if my whole sort of thing is based around that, then yeah.
I've been doing it for 10 years, and 16 years. Yeah, and I didn't make money for 10 years, but I found it very isolating. And there's not many people doing it in Australia, and so it's pretty challenging. And even on X, like I'm going to WWDC this year, and I'm leaving on Sunday, and there's a map from the app online, and there's me and one other guy going from Australia. So it's not going to be a big social event. I went to my first conference ever last January, and it was nice to see the people. But, for brief networking events, you don't really get to know anyone. So, yeah, it's challenging. I'll just say on the previous thing about the isolation and stuff and buying houses, that was a challenge for me. Banks won't give you a mortgage. They don't care if you're bringing the money, you're working for yourself, you're dead meat. So I bought my first house at the age of 51, and I had to pay cash for it. So yeah, that's something to consider, So yeah.
I hung on to my job with IDB app / Mantle just long enough to get that loan from the bank. It settled, moved in, I resigned.
Yeah, that is a good tip there. So on the topic there of sort of leaving your corporate job, there's a lot of people out there now that are probably working a corporate job, they've done this for some time, maybe at the bank, and they're sort of reaching a point where it's like, it's just the same thing over and over and over. Apps have been around now, and, I know personally in my circle, a lot of people would love to take that leap to go and do their own thing. Maybe they're working on the side now, and I think a lot of people can sort of get a little bit, fatigued if you're coding all day and then you've got to code all night. We know how long it takes to build an app. Like, I think there's about 70 or 80 engineers here in mobile building this app, and we're multi-years into the migration and we've still got quite a bit ahead of us. So, you know, to do that in your spare time, you know, like your 5 to 9 after work can be quite challenging. But now you've got the rise of AI sort of coming through, which is sort of allowing you to prototype and speed up, and you can certainly see that progress like a lot faster. But yeah, people are starting to be able to get like from an idea to an actual product a lot quicker. When they're sort of playing around with this, what would your advice to them be in terms of having that stable sort of like corporate job perhaps at the moment, and sort of taking like, you know, the David Goggins approach of like burn the boats, like go all in, you know, like leave them behind and just like go all in and focus. You know, if someone's there looking at like, I can try and bootstrap this, try and do a little as much as I can in my spare time, or go all in. It sounds like you guys kind of went all in a little bit there, but what would your sort of advice to someone in that position be?
You're going to let me handle that one, are you? Fine. Look, I mentioned in my thing there I had a very bad day where I was working in Melbourne at the time, consultancy, and I just got to the front door of work and I couldn't walk in the door. And so I was in Carlton, so I walked over the road to the museum and just sat on the bench here, and I just couldn't move. And so I just called in sick, and something had to change. It just came it was a very bad day, and I visited that bench since, remembering the moment. So yeah, that was a bad day. So I do miss the corporate side of things, being in a crowd and stuff. But there are other things, like you were just talking about the constant need to develop, add new features and stuff like that. I avoided that. So most of my apps are not server-side at all. I've only got one server-side app. And so I'm not reliant on other services. There's a real thing. I work for many consultancies, and, you know, a consultancy has to hire out their staff to customers all the time, you know, to bring in revenue. So there's always going to be new features and new stuff like that. And I point out that I can work around that just by not adding new features. My users are happy with the app as it is. So I took a few years off there. And you can see that some of my apps are still storyboards, Objective-C, all the old stuff, UIKit. And so end users don't mind. You know, they just want the functionality. So there's a contrast between what I did then and what I do now. So yeah. You can disagree with me if you want. No, just
no, I won't, because I mean, I'll give the classic answer. It depends. It depends on who you are, where you're at. When I was younger and had fewer responsibilities, you know, only say a wife and one child, and no mortgage, it was easier to do certain things, to take bigger risks. Later on, with 5 children and a mortgage to pay and stuff like that, I needed full-time work, and I went into I had full-time work for a number of years. I went from one consulting agency to YouFoods, and then to Itty Bitty Apps. And during that time, because, you know, I would have been, in my early 40s by then, raising 5 kids, I didn't have much energy left, and so development of my side projects practically stopped during that time. I really didn't do a lot. I kind of went into maintenance mode on my apps because they were there, and so it depends on your circumstances and what you can actually afford to do and how much energy you've got. I've got less energy today than I did when I started this journey. And I had a rather unconventional sort of career, I guess. I graduated from my undergrad in end of '96, got my first job in Sydney doing something I hated. Tried a new job, didn't like that one either, moved back to Brisbane, did my honours year, got a job at an e-commerce company building Java payment gateways in the good old days when enterprise Java beans were just sort of coming out, but we were using servlets and all the good stuff. And then the dot-com bubble burst, and then our company ran out of money, and I was made redundant along with most of the other developers. And I ended up in this situation where I had been put in contact with this mining guy who needed some custom software written, and so I kind of just sort of lent on that. It wasn't a full-time salary, but you paid well enough that I could keep the mortgage going, and I actually then had time to work on side projects, which is why I experimented with all the Amiga-related stuff and then played with Symbian and all that sort of thing, and I had time. But I ended up, reserves got down and I had to go get a full-time job for a while, and then, it depends.
It really does. I remember straight out of uni, I went through an entrepreneurship boot camp, so I applied and luckily got sponsored to go into this and went into it with a bunch of mates. And there was some money from the uni, so they give you a bit of a stipend to sort of cover your living expenses, and went through that with a really cool sort of startup idea. And I got to the end of that and I was like, I can either get a full-time job or I could sort of carry this on. And I was like, you know what, I'll just go and get a job, I'll get some experience, I'll learn a bit. I'd done a summer of earning money the year before, and I was like, yeah, this is great. I'm going to go in here, I'll do it for a year, save some money, and then I'll go and start the thing. And what happens is you get that sort of comfort and that lifestyle creep, and you're like, oh, this is great. And then, here I am 10 years later, still haven't taken that leap and, have that mortgage to pay, and it certainly gets harder and harder. And, looking back, I wish I'd sort of just gone in the early days and just gone all in. But, I certainly had some friends, and they had some clever strategies where they'd do things like, living costs at the time was your biggest expense. So they would do, one of them built a house sitting website, and there was no actually way that you could apply to be a house sitter because he was the only one that was house sitting. There was only a way to apply to register your house to be sitted. So he would take the most amazing houses in Wellington, living up in these multi-million-dollar houses, and just live there for weeks on end and just bounce between these houses. Nice. Get a bit of money, maybe they leave him the card, and he could sort of pay his way with that. And then that was how he bootstrapped it rather than a corporate job.
That's a great business idea. I'm going to steal that.
I just want to actually add something here. So I told you some numbers of where I'm at now. I'm also 51 years old, and it's taken me a long time to get here. And if I had just done the standard route, I bet you I would be better off financially today, having had a full-time stable job that entire time, than I am having this. Where it'll go in the future, I don't know. Who knows what will happen? I mean, if the AI apocalypse happens, maybe I'll last a few weeks longer than you because I can grow food. But so it's.
I agree.
Yeah,
with that.
and I can't run the universe in two different, split off it and run it and actually compare. I can only guess, but if you sort of do a normal progression of a salaried position over that 26 years that I would have been in a career, I probably would have no mortgage now, and all sorts of other things. How else life would be different, I don't know. So don't sort of see this as this rosy, hey, you can make it rich being an indie developer. It's actually way costlier than that.
One of the things that I noticed about both Pete and Gabriel's apps is the niches that they've chosen, the substitution. The biggest problem that any app has in general, if it's particularly if it's a subscription app, is about the substitutability. And one of the things that if you've got a cheap app, is often the problem is that people can substitute in your app, right? And so, and certain types of customer are more likely to stick with an app. Once a customer has purchased an app and has learned it and understands it, and if it does the job to be done for them, they won't substitute away from it. Yep. And you find that in musicians, for example, is a classic example of that. Once a musician learns a DAW or a particular tool set, they're actually interested in the job to be done. They're not interested in the software. And so if they find that it does the job, then they'll stick with it because they'll learn it and they'll understand it and it does what they want and so on. And it sounds like the astrology and apps that Pete does, astronomy apps, it's the same sort of thing. People have a particular thing that they want about it and it does it well and they won't switch away. And sort of that as an indie dev is a good, when you're thinking about the types of app to do, right, or to focus on, is that's actually one way you can pick apps. It's what is the job that I need this thing or the customer needs for this app to do, and are they the kind of customer that's going to be sticky?
I think maybe your you're convincing the customer that you're changing the customer's mind. As I said in my talk there, the customer chooses the first app they come to. They don't necessarily choose the best one. And so if they choose your app, or if they see your app and download it, maybe their point of view changes to your app rather than the other way around. So, yeah, interesting.
It's not always the case. I do hear from users who write to me and say, I tried 5 different apps and yours is the one that worked best for me.
Yep.
So there are people who do that. And they mention the apps by name, and I was like, I know these apps have far more features, but there's something about the way Songsheet works they just like more, and it just works for them.
Awesome.
And then they're sticky. I mean, I hear from people who've been using Songsheet for 10 plus years.
Wow.
Yeah, and still use it today, and will use it for years to come.
It's amazing.
You'll have a user who updates their review all the time, and they says they first wrote the review in 2014, and then they says I'm back here in 2018 updating this review, and the last one was 2025. Very impressive.
That's cool. Really cool.
Talking about the older users, so let's say I bought Songsheet back then for 99 cents. How did you transition me to subscription?
Yeah, great question. So you can get like original purchase date and original version, and so I grandfathered those users in so they didn't lose anything. But I have made the decision, and they've gotten tons of new features as well, and of course they get all the bug fixes. But I've made the decision there are certain things that I am gating behind an upgrade cost, which will be a much more reasonable cost as well. So for example, when I actually finally release iCloud Sync, that will be behind an upgrade. And I know that a lot will want it. So, yeah.
Well, that's a good idea. I also gate on original purchase date. So many people bought it as paid up front, and I honour everything.
Yeah.
So I honour old subscription prices, I honour $1.99 lifetimes, everything. So I just gate on original purchase date, so that people who paid up front still get they can still download the now free version, and they get the subscription automatically.
Yeah, it's
without
kind of
paying.
bad form to take away functionality that they paid for.
Absolutely.
I
People
can
complain
confirm
about that.
if you do it, users are going to be very angry. Very angry.
Yeah.
So I did part of a rewrite for the BOM of New Zealand, so it's called Met Service. And their initial V1, very early days iPhone app came out, and it was 99 cents, there was no ads. And then, about 10 years later, they went through a complete transformation, made this really nice multi-million-dollar app, and then instead of 99 cents, it was free, but it had ads. And yeah, even though the app was completely transformational, it was, the Apple Weather sort of app equivalent, yeah, users were not happy, and they got a lot of one-star reviews because I paid 99 cents 10 years ago. You're like, oh man. So yeah, definitely something to be mindful of, because I'm sure, as you're talking about with the ASO, your rating is a huge part of that. So, the rating is probably more important than, that small profit margin.
Yeah,
Speaking of
definitely.
ASO, I had a question, Brad, to Pete's talk. He said, you need to know what people are searching for.
Yep.
And I've never done any App Store optimization, so how do you know what the users are searching for, particularly the users who will buy your app, what they are searching for?
You don't know the search terms they're using, but you can look at the top charts on the App Store, and those and look down the top charts, and those are what people are downloading and what they're searching for. So you can just go down the top charts to see the type of apps they're all downloading. Apple provide that data freely.
You look at the top apps?
Yeah, the top apps. So
but how do you know what they're searching for to get
you
the top
don't
apps?
know the exact search terms, but you can use your head and sort of say, well, what did they search for? Like I know that my sunrise sunset app is going to be searched. People are going to be searching for sunrise or sunset or sunrise time or sunrise times. There's some ASO rules around that. Sunrise sunset times. There's another app that's ahead of me in the charts at the moment because it specialises in sunset, and also Apple feature it. But I'm number 2 on that one, and I'm just pumping up my review code on that so that maybe I'll pull ahead of it again. So yeah, I just go down the top charts. I think I mentioned that I don't build the app first. I go down and see if an app is viable. And so one of those things is I go down the top charts of apps, and it goes down as far as 200, and I'm sure people take it even further, position 200, and you can see what people are trying to download and what they actually are downloading across the whole app store. So you don't know the terms.
No, you don't. I can add to that though. So you mentioned Astro. I use Astro as well to track a whole bunch of things. Astro does. I'm not sure if the data is, because I remember a number of months back there was some things about this. Astro scrapes the Apple search ads data, and it's something I had discovered not long after search ads was released. Search ads, when you go in and look at keywords and recommended keywords, they actually show you popularity scores for keywords, which I presume is a proxy for words that are used in search by actual users, and because the data comes from Apple, I presume it's reasonably accurate. So Astro does have a popularity score, which I think is supposed to still be derived from that data, and so you can use that. So you can look up keywords and see what the popularity score is. If it's 5, nobody searches for it, but if it's above that, you can get info. Something I'm working with the AI agents that I'm doing at the moment is, in terms of researching competitors and forum threads and Reddit and that sort of thing, is actually looking for threads where people are asking the question, what app, where apps are being recommended, and looking at, well, what was the title they used when they typed this thread, and how did they ask the question and thing? Because I think because if that's how they're asking in a forum, then maybe that's what they'll type into App Store search. And so I'm working now on the theory that might be a good proxy, scraping data from those sorts of forum threads, and because that's what they're asking. And so let me read you something. It was in my notes, but in my notes I didn't have the right screen up. So I had the agent go out and do some research for Reverse Chord Finder, in which I only recently actually created a proper website for. I did have, so reversechord.com up until early this year was just the text of the App Store description and a screenshot. That's all it was. But it actually has a proper website now with a kind of a user guide. But I asked the agent to sort of like, okay, go out there, see if anybody's mentioning it online, that sort of thing. And this is what it came back with. Reverse Chord Finder Pro is a genuinely excellent app, near zero marketing presence. 4.7 stars. Loyal users who stuck around for 10 plus years. Active development, ethical monetization. And virtually nobody knows it exists online.
Same for mine.
That was point number 1. Point number 2, the app is invisible in communities where its target users live. 0 Reddit mentions, 0 YouTube content, a dead product hunt listing, missing from Alternative 2 and most Roundup articles, no social media accounts whatsoever. And this last one is the relevant one. Reverse Chord Finder Pro dominates a niche nobody searches for. The term Reverse Chord Finder is how musicians describe the concept after they find the tool. It's not what they look for. They search, what chord am I playing? Or chord identifier. And Reverse Chord Finder doesn't own those terms. So it sort of gleaned this. So people asking online about asking about trying to work out what chords are, they ask these questions. They don't look for Reverse Chord Finder.
Is it obvious to someone that, this is something an application can solve? Maybe it just doesn't occur to people that such an application must exist.
Yeah. And so so I'm operating this basis of looking for, how are people asking these questions online, and I'm going to start targeting searches like that in my keywords.
One of the things I've sort of considered when you were starting it out is I find developers, we're trained to solve problems and be realists. We're working in a very restricted set of constraints. We have to ensure accuracy, move slow and methodically. But on the other side of that, you sort of have the marketing guru that's hyping it up, selling something that's maybe not quite 100% of the story.
Selling
and something. You see some now we've got AI and they're making these simple products. It's amazing what people can do with the right marketing behind it and the right sales funnels. And I've seen someone sort of create this personalized ChatGPT bot essentially, and they've probably got a few context.md files and stuff in there. Maybe reference a bit of their training material, but they're going and they're selling this for like 2,000 USD, you know, and I'm like, this is the most basic thing, like I wouldn't pay $1 for this, you know, and it's like selling like crazy, and you know, it's just, it never needs to work again. But like, what if you combine someone like that that's just knows marketing in and out, and then someone who knows the technology in and out, and you sort of go, hey, well, I'll cover this base, you cover that base. What's your thought on that? And taking, you know, 50% of something that's potentially a lot more, or, you know, trying to have 100% of the equity and, you know, do everything yourself, because there's a lot of bases to cover between both of them, isn't there?
I'm sure that out there are plenty of marketing experts and technical experts who are generating apps using AI and putting them on a store and making a killing. But they're very smartly keeping very quiet about it. You don't want to, if you're onto a good thing, you don't want to say anything about it. And I met someone in Singapore who was making an extraordinary amount of money, 10 times what I'm making. And he doesn't keep away from sharing his numbers, but he doesn't blow his own trumpet either. So, yeah.
So the way you described that, you didn't sell it to me, because what I heard was, hey, there's these people out there who are really good at scamming people. Do you want to partner with them? No, I don't. No, I mean, there are people that are good at marketing, and where does it cross the line into scammy sort of behaviour? I don't want to get close to that line personally.
Definitely not suggesting being scammy. I'm
just
saying it's amazing.
But it is amazing. I mean, it'd be nice to work with somebody who really knew their stuff.
I mean, Peter was saying, like, he doesn't even start working the project until he's sat there and worked out a business model.
Yeah.
That's the marketing. There's no marketing. You know? So you're doing the marketing.
That's why I mentioned going down the search results, the top apps. It's right there what people are searching for, you know, what people want, and so you can extrapolate from that what they're searching for.
Yeah, that's
So,
exactly
But let me put it this way: you find a really good marketer, and maybe, you know, they'll do a great job, and it'll be non-scammy, and you get some purchase in the market. But then when you stop the marketing, what happens? Is it like turning on and off a tap? Like everything I've tried, I'm not a great marketer, so maybe it's this really, really poor example. But the best marketing I have found has always come down to me pleasing my users, giving them something that they delight in and want to tell other people about. And that creates sustainable marketing that runs by itself without me actually having...
And it doesn't cost you anything either on top of it?
Yeah, apart from taking pride in my work and seeking to actually genuinely give value to people. I mean, that's why I'm doing what I'm doing. And then I get the reward of hearing from these people that absolutely love what it is that I've built for them, and that gives me satisfaction. Because, and that creates, I think, a virtuous cycle that marketing can't replace. I mean, maybe marketing can help you bootstrap to there, but you have to have a product that actually means something to people.
Completely.
For it to sustain.
Awesome. And both of your apps are like B2C, where you're going direct to the consumer. Have either of you sort of experimented or like, you know, run the numbers on what it would be like to, say, do like a B2B? Obviously, each customer is a lot harder to acquire. Maybe there's some sort of compliance factor, but, you know, the ticket per customer and the like lifetime value of that customer is going to be a lot greater. And then also the resiliency to change, you know, like once you're tied into a sort of company like that, there's going to be a lot of friction for them to sort of move systems. Have either of you sort of weighed up the pros and cons of B2B or B2C?
I'm not interested.
Yeah, I'm not interested.
I like what I do.
Yeah, same here. And I've worked in the corporate environment before, and I'm not going to sell to businesses. Yeah. That's a very short answer. I just don't care. I don't want to do it. Yeah.
So?
But maybe, you know, maybe one day I'll just get up and I'll just write, tell Claude do this. But supporting business users, especially government users, and it's not. It'll be written on my gravestone. So no, it doesn't interest me. Yeah.
And what are you guys' takes on AI? Like, is that something that you see as sort of helping you and sort of getting features to customers sooner and, you know, like helping you deliver and leverage your time better? Or do you see it as something that suddenly, like, the competition around you is going to sort of start lifting up and you've got potentially more competition there? Do you see it as a win or a bit of a downside for you as an indie that's sort of established in the market?
Yeah, I had an interesting discussion. Do you know Paul Gear? Anyway, I was chatting with him a while back. He's done a lot of AI stuff. He's with Mantle. And there's this sense of delight and excitement in using new tools. I mean, this is why I got into programming in the first place. It's like I can create stuff, I can solve problems, and AI helps me do that. And I have found it personally, especially in the last 6 months. 6 months? We're only May. 4 months. Because it was about February that I sort of switched on to using AI full time. Because my previous dabblings with it, I was just not satisfied with it. But something changed at the beginning of this year. And I have found it to be a force multiplier. But I'm finding myself off balance a lot more. In the sense that because things are changing rapidly, and I don't feel I've quite got the energy I had when I was 20, and you know things were changing rapidly then too. I'm constantly learning stuff, and then there is that worry about, well, if my competitors are doing this sort of stuff, and then they'll get ahead of me, and then I forget all the lessons that I've learned. That, well, I mean, many of my competitors, they have a dozen people working, and it's just been me, and I've carved out an okay business. So it's like, stop panicking. But yeah, the emotional thing can be hard with that. So I don't know, it's early days. I'm excited by what I can do with it. And I mean, my website's now, the Songsheet website is now fully translated in Brazilian Portuguese. And I have a reasonable confidence in that translation as well. And because Brazil is a market that I'm starting to go after. Because they're just, it's a good market for musicians. I couldn't have done that without AI. And I'm excited about what else I can do. But yeah, it's just all these other things, the irrational fears that come in, they're draining.
I use AI to fix very targeted bugs. I had a race condition in one of my apps, I couldn't find it, and it found it, and made a lot of users happy. If I've got a very specific new feature, I'll just ask AI to do it, and it'll do it. For bigger Claude wrangling, I built that screensaver, which is a major project, and I've got it to come out the other end, but there's still a bug in it. So I'm very experienced in AI now. And I'm going to WWDC, and I'm sure it's going to be AI. So that'll be exciting. So yeah, but I'm a big fan, and I suppose it'll eventually one day, you know, the App Store will go away, and you'll push a button on the horoscope button on your phone, and it will generate a horoscope app on the fly. So, as I said in my thing, I'm making hay while the sun shines, and it'll be all over at that point. Yeah.
Opening it up to the floor now. Has anyone got any questions they'd like to ask?
You just thought about like your exit strategy. Like, you think that far ahead where you try and sell the app, or you might just grind out?
I thought occasionally occurs to me, it's like, oh, what would it be worth now? It's like, but I like it. I like what I'm doing. What else would I do? Because if I sold it, then yeah, I'd have to pay a big tax bill. So it'd be a lot less than what you kind of actually might expect. It's like, oh, that's a big number. Yeah, and then you give half of it to the government. But then what would I do? I'd have to go get a job.
Yeah.
Or try and build something else from scratch again. And it's like, I don't have time for that anymore.
It's exactly what Gabriel said, and I've automated everything. Everything is automated, and so I have a bunch of email templates for responding to customer queries. I've not automated that. I still have to cut and paste. I know what most of my customer queries are about. For instance, I recently changed all my apps to do a restore on first install because people were complaining that they would delete the app from their device and then re-download it, and it wasn't, premium anymore. So it's just things like I've got a lot of support emails about that. So now everything is automated, and basically what happens is money appears in my bank account every month. And so why would I want to sell that or throw it away? I'm sure that at some point I won't be capable of coding, and I don't know what the multiplier will be as a percentage of revenue, 200% of revenue, or you were talking about an 80x multiplier before.
Yeah, no, we wouldn't get
it. Yeah, I don't know. I think it's 2x at the moment actually, but yeah, whatever. Yeah, but I wouldn't consider selling it right now. It's a good life, and I've built something amazing that, it's people's dream where I can travel the world, and the apps don't need me to be looking at them every day, although I can't help looking at the revenue cat dashboard or something like that every day. So yeah, I wouldn't sell it.
Yeah, but the revenue cat bill keeps growing every month.
Yeah, that's great, isn't it? Yeah, so you celebrate the revenue cap bill getting bigger because that means because they take a percentage, 1%, and so if the bill goes up, you're onto a win.
Stingy person I am, I'm thinking about de-integrating it.
I have done that, and so I did de-integrate it, but sorry, Apple folk, but the paywalls inside the standard store paywalls, I just wasn't happy with them, but it worked fine. Everything was fine, so I reintegrated.
No.
Yeah.
Question for you. So I know in 2020 you basically switched to the subscription model, but I'm curious around some of the mechanics of that. Was it that you raised prices, or did each customer become more valuable to you? Was there more demand, or was it like a mix of all three that caused that?
It was really simple. I was charging $25 upfront before, and with the number of users that I had, I couldn't build a sustainable business with that number. So I did the math. It's like, okay, if I want a sustainable business, how much do I need to charge? How much do I need to value what I'm doing? And so at the time I settled on, that's the other thing, I only recently integrated weekly as well. I added weekly, but initially it was like $5 US a month, and then I just did a 10x on that for annual, so it's a 2-month discount, and then I did like a 2x on annual for lifetime, and I figured that was the only way I was going to build something sustainable.
And obviously that was for the new users as opposed to the old ones.
Yes. Yeah, the upgrade cost is less.
I was scared when I first did it. I did it in one app. I thought, how is this going to work? And it turned out to be a great decision, so I just rolled it out across the others.
I was scared too, which is why I hadn't done it up until 2020 when people stopped performing, so people stopped buying my apps. My income went like that. In 1 week I made this amount, the next week I made half that amount, the week after that it made even less. It's like, well, I've got nothing to lose now.
Yeah.
Just do it. The Band-Aid's been ripped off.
I guess that's a bit of inspiration for price testing because my current situations.
Did you have a question, Josh?
Yeah, as you said before, Peter, how there's not many people in Australia kind of like around this sort of thing. You're going to WWD with like one other Australian or whatever. Also, as well, to Gabriel, did you guys run into much tall poppy syndrome? Because that is pretty rife in Australia, where it's like you're doing something different to everyone else and people trying to bring you down or whatever, or anything like that. Because in a group of people that I used to hanging around with, that was a big thing, like asking a lot of questions about going towards doing a business or trying to run something that's just not the norm. Just wondering if you guys, I guess it ties more into like the mental side of things when you go to decide that you're going to be running like an independent sort of application or a series of apps. If you've handled any of that at all?
There's this belief that, and if you hang out on Reddit, is the belief that there's no point becoming a developer. You won't make any money. And I might point out to you that AI is trained on Reddit. So any question you ask of AI is going to get a Reddit answer. And Reddit is full of SHIT. So just remember that. So I haven't struck the tall poppy syndrome basically because I don't tell people how much money I make. And people assume I'm making nothing because of what's on Reddit. And I'm okay with that. I don't need the competition.
Awesome. I haven't encountered negativity. I mean, maybe the circles I move in has been more positive. The worst I had was, my family members thinking I was crazy, asking them for money to... like, are you sure? Yes, I'm sure. Okay. Well, I hope it goes well for you. Yeah, they're happy for me now.
That's awesome. That was good. Any final questions before we close up?
What, apart from coding, like what other percentage of time is time broken into? Like, do you do like 20% support, just admin? Like, what are the things that won't just be all coding?
Well, sometimes I push everything away and it's only coding, and I ignore customer support emails for days and then weeks, and I shouldn't. But I'm just not in the mental space to deal with it for some reason. Even I don't know, I just get in weird places. But you wouldn't know that from my reviews on the App Store, because all these people say, "Hey, he answers instantly," and all this sort of stuff. Because sometimes I see the email come in and I'll reply instantly. And they're the ones that review. The ones who I take weeks to get back to, they don't write the reviews. No, I mean, these days, because I employ two of my boys part-time as well, there's a bit of overhead with that, but that's worth it. I spend more time than I ever did before planning, because I found that if you want to effectively use AI, spend time thinking about it, interacting with it, don't just accept the first thing that it says, push back on it and have it push back on you, and you get much better results. So I probably spend a good, I don't know, I haven't measured it, but having conversations and planning sessions with AI would be a reasonable percentage of my day now. But still lots of coding. In the last 2 weeks, I pushed out a major release last week. I spent all weekend panicking about receiving panicked emails from users going out to gigs and having the app crash, but it didn't get a single email this time, so I'm happy about that. So that's some of how I spend my time, is just panically waiting for emails. Yeah, well, actually, that's another thing, being an indie developer, especially with what I do, I never fully turn off from what I do, because I am customer support and that sort of thing. And I do worry about, because people rely on what I built for them, because they're out there performing in front of a small group, or in some cases, hundreds of people. And they rely on what I've built for them. And so I try not to push out releases at the end of the week, because the peak of usage is the weekend. I have done that more than once, and I did receive angry emails on the weekend, hence the panic, even if I release on a Tuesday. Yeah, but yeah, I don't have a lot of customer support. I probably get on average 1 or 2 customer emails a day. Easily handleable.
You get more than me. Yeah. I hardly get any customer support emails, because I try and automate away any issues, any root causes I try and fix, like the restore issue on a reinstall. But the one thing I hate, I don't have a bookkeeper or anything, so I run all my finances through Xero, and so Xero is very easy to use. But I have to do pay runs and activity statements and stuff. And you could say I should roll that off to a bookkeeper or something.
Okay, that's what an accountant is for.
Yeah, well, and yeah, I just do that myself. Other than that, it's I don't have many support emails, and there's no need for me to sit there. My apps, as I said, have no server side apart from one, so it makes it, and that one had a major issue the other day, And so the server side was changed. So I use a US government free service. And they changed the format of the data. Anyhow, and so it makes it very easy for me to just leave the apps alone and leave it all behind. So yeah.
Awesome. Cool. Well, thanks both to you for coming down and sharing your stories and sharing your wisdom. That's really appreciated.
Yep.
I did enjoy it. Yeah.
Thanks for listening.